What's going on, guys? It's Jay Camaro here with another episode of Flashback Friday, and today we're going to be taking a look at Crysis 2. Now, before I start with this episode, I'm thinking I should probably just change the name of Flashback Friday to Flashback Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, because it seems like I can never actually upload on Friday night. I just usually don't have enough time to capture the gameplay, then talk, and then upload it. But this one is especially late, even though I've been on a long weekend. On Friday I had the day off, and also today, Monday, I have the day off. I'm going back to school tomorrow. I've just been very, very busy, and I just haven't had time to really do this episode. I recorded this gameplay, I think, on Saturday, but I just have not had time these past few days to commentate it and then upload it to YouTube. But better late than never, and the reason I didn't wait to upload this next Friday, is because I made this talking. I wanted to do Crysis 1 and Crysis 2, of course, because Crysis 3 is coming out on the 19th, which is tomorrow, and I didn't want to just like skip the day it comes out and then just upload it afterwards, because me and Ryan kind of did that Halo Flashback Friday last summer, and I wanted to get those done before Halo 4 came out, and I want to do the same thing with Crysis. So I'm uploading on Monday. I hope you guys can still enjoy this episode, especially since it's coming out tomorrow. So it'll be pretty cool to check out the older Crysis 2 before Crysis 3 comes out. So enough about me rambling on about my Flashback Friday apologies and stuff. This is Crysis 2. Now, Crysis 2 was developed by Crytek and published by EA, and it was released on March 22nd, 2011. Now, this game is a little interesting because this is the first Crysis that was available on the consoles. Now, of course, Crysis 1 was released on consoles as a downloadable title in fall of 2011, but at the time of this game's release, there was no way, no one knew that it was coming out, and people just supposed this was going to be the Crysis that came to consoles, with maybe Crysis 3 coming. Of course, we know now, of course, it is releasing on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. But because of this, Crytek was faced with a little bit of a challenge, because they're making a sequel to a game that they don't really want to necessarily be a sequel. Because I think for a lot of console players, they've never played the original Crysis, because they're not going to go out and spend a ton of money on a PC. That's because they have a perfectly good console to use. So they needed to make Crysis to appeal to the people who actually wanted a Crysis sequel, who played the original on the PC, as well as the players on the consoles who maybe had never heard of Crysis and wanted to kind of get into the franchise but couldn't play the original. So they definitely had to make a lot of modifications to the story, as well as modifications to the gameplay. This actually runs a completely new engine, CryEngine 3, so looking at the gameplay, it's a vast difference from the original Crysis to Crysis 2. That's just because just the way that everything looks is very different. I think the way that that your soldier holds the nanosuit person holds your weapon, like it looks very different. I don't know, but so Crysis 2. Let's first talk about the graphics, because in Crysis 2 the graphics are incredible, and this is relevant across all platforms. Whether you're playing this on the PlayStation 3 or the Xbox 360 or the PC, it's gonna look incredible. At the time this game was released, I think you could definitely say that this was the best looking game for consoles, and I think it won a couple of Game of the Year awards in graphics performance on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It just looked that good. Crytek did a really good job with adapting this game to consoles, both in a gameplay perspective and graphics wise. They show off a lot of cutscenes in the very beginning to kind of explain the story. Because of course most of the people who probably picked up this game hadn't played the original Crysis, so they kind of show off what happened, get you up to date without actually just going through like a 2-hour cutscene explaining everything that happened. And I think since I did not actually play the original Crysis before I played Crysis 2, of course it's different now. I have played the original Crysis. I definitely understood it, and I was excited going into it even without playing the original game. So graphics. The lighting is probably the best part about how the graphics are rendered. Just walking out from like closed buildings to like the sun shining on everything, and nightness, all the lighting effects and stuff. That just looks really good, and I think that the way that this game plays out is a little different than the original Crysis. Instead of like a Far Cry experience. And I actually went into some research after I posted the original Crysis Flashback Friday, and I actually did learn that Crytek made the original Far Cry, so that's probably why it felt very similar. But it's more of an interior experience. Of course, you're still going to be walking outside, and most of this gameplay that you're seeing right now is outside. This is the second level in the game. The first one is just a cutscene, so you don't really miss a ton. But just walking out from the doors into the outside just looks really good. All the different objects on the environment is really good. The textures are great, especially in like the weapons and the way the heads-up display moves around. I think that's just it just looks really nice. But I don't think Crysis is all about the graphics. I'm just saying that it just looks incredible, and I think for somebody who saw maybe like a gameplay about this, you're definitely going to want to pick up this game just for the sake of the graphics performance. It just looks that good. There's not much more I can say. Just throughout the game, you're just going to be treated with some really incredible imagery from the Crysis universe, with all of the weapons, how they fire, like the particle effects, and the choppers, and enemies, and the way that your soldier jumps around. It's just a really nice game. And right here, you can see this huge vista right here, and it just looks really nice. You couldn't imagine that you're playing this on a at the time 6-year-old console, or maybe 5.5-year-old console. But it's true. I think they could probably put Crysis 2 as a game on the next generation or Crysis 3 for that matter, on the next generation Xbox or PlayStation 4, and I think people will still think that it was designed for that next-gen system. It just looks that good. It does run at only 30 frames per second, but most games do, so I'm not going to complain about that at all. One other thing about the graphics, the lighting is not the lighting, the water effects are really good. You can kind of see it out of the corner of my the screen right here. I don't really look at it a ton, but especially on there's some multiplayer maps that are almost all in water, and you'll probably be able to see it there. There's a lot of weapon pickups, as you can see. I think we're going to be getting into the gameplay part now. And one thing I want to show off right here is that what you just saw, you can modify your weapons just like the original, and you can equip a bunch of attachments. But unlike the original, they're not all immediately unlocked, and the way you unlock them is walking and picking up enemy weapons, and then if once you pick it up, you kind of like unlock it, and you can equip it on all of your other guns. Some are pretty rare, like the laser sight. For the pistol, my friend Mark, who got this game before me, actually, he's played the campaign a lot, and I think he said that there's only like one point in the campaign with that weapon, so that's kind of how you pick it up. Right here, I grab an assault rifle. So the gameplay is much like the original. You've got your two modes. You got your stealth mode, and you got your armor mode. Both can be accessed by the bumpers, at least on the consoles. But that's really the main premise of Crysis. So you have like an energy bar, as you can see at the bottom right-hand corner right now, and that kind of dictates what you do. The energy bar is your friend, or for that matter, your enemy. Any superpower that you do takes up energy, whether it's sprinting, going invisible, changing to armor mode. It all uses up energy. Now, of course, that comes back very quickly, but it won't. You're going to have to, for example, reappear while it's recharging, so you definitely have to play it very tactically, especially when you're invisible, based on getting into cover when you run out of energy, and making sure you're not caught out in the open when your energy runs out. Right here, it's kind of just showing off the stealth mode. You actually don't unlock the armor mode for a little while, so that's something I'm just not going to be using a ton. You can see me just stealth kill someone right there. But when you're invisible, the graphics look pretty cool too, how you can kind of see the outline of your gun and stuff. And the soldiers actually have some pretty good conversation if you listen in. I think that just adds to the realism, and I really enjoy that in a game, where it kind of adds to the whole universe. It's like you don't want to approach on some guards that aren't talking at all and just standing there like mumbling or something. And I think it's cool how there's like dialogue until, of course, you kill them. So once those once your armor or shield run out, you're gonna have to get in cover, and it can come back pretty fast. One thing that I didn't like, and it was fixed in Crysis 3, was running took up energy, and I don't know, I just did not like that. But at least in the Crysis 3 beta and multiplayer, it seems like sprinting will not lower your health. I don't know what that's going to be for the campaign, but I definitely didn't like how you ran out of energy really fast if you're just sprinting. I don't think in any video game sprinting should be something that associates to any of your energy. Like games like Call of Duty and Halo did it, and I didn't like how Crysis 1 and 2 did it. But it looks like those things were addressed in Crysis 3, so I'm not going to talk about that a lot. You can really change your weapons really fast, and it actually does do it in real time. Which means that you're definitely going to want to be in cover because enemies will sneak up to you if you're caught out in the open trying to change your attachments. But definitely you can do it really fast, and I like how they use that with the four normal buttons on the Xbox 360 controller. It's probably the same on the PC. Sorry, not PC, PS3. One thing that's pretty cool is based on whether you're in normal mode or armor mode, your weapon will reload differently. I think that's pretty cool and adds, to the armor realism effect. The mini-map is very helpful, especially in the awareness, the enemy awareness bar to the right of the mini-map. It's full red right now. That changes based on if enemies are know if you're there or not. Of course, when it's to the bottom, they have no clue. Then it can change from yellow all the way to dark red, and that means that they know exactly where you are and they're shooting at you. And that's something. Crysis 2, you can really play how you want to play. You can either run in guns blazing in armor mode, or equip a silencer and go into stealth mode, and then just take them out stealthily, or just sneak by them entirely, just like stabbing people left and right. And I think that's really cool, and it definitely adds some replayability. I've played through the campaign multiple times, and both times, all the times I've played it very differently, and it makes a campaign as replayable as a campaign can be, because campaigns are most recently really known for their, they're just kind of a tacked-on experience. Now, of course, this is not every game's campaign. Like Crysis 3 and Far Cry 3, not Crysis 3, Skyrim, Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, and Far Cry 3, those are games that really, you could say, in Far Cry 3's case, of course, Skyrim doesn't have any multiplayer whatsoever, but in Far Cry 3's case, the multiplayer could have just not been included at all, and you would have gotten the same out of it. And I think that's not an entire. It's kind of half and half in Crysis. I think people can play it for the campaign and love it, and people can play the multiplayer too and love it as well. It's not going to be a game like Call of Duty where some people don't play the campaign at all and play the multiplayer all the time. It's really going to be, there's going to be an audience for the multiplayer, there's going to be an audience for the campaign, and then there's going to be an audience for both. And I like how Crytek made it so it's not all about the multiplayer. And the campaign and the story is really good. It's a really good length. It's really explored. The story is well thought out, and the gameplay is really good. There's a ton of levels in this game, and it really takes you to a lot of different locations across New York City. And as you play, you can see the destruction of New York City progress in the very beginning. Of course, right now, you couldn't really even tell there was any destruction at all, but as the game goes on, you're going to see buildings burning. I think the Statue of Liberty's head, you can see it on one level, and you can just kind of see the dire situation that New York is in. So now that we've kind of talked about gameplay for the most part, let's talk about story. Now, the story of Crysis 2 is very not similar to Crysis, the original Crysis at all. Although it's about the nano suit and it's set in the future, you're not going to be versing Koreans in this one, and you're not going to be on a tropical island somewhere in the Pacific or Atlantic Ocean. You're in New York, in America, and you're kind of fighting on the home front against the alien invaders. And in this one, it's a little interesting because you've got like 3 sides, and I think this is a really cool story part. So you've pretty much got the Marines, the Cell, and then the aliens. The Marines and the Cell are both humans, and they're both fighting against the aliens, but then they're also fighting against each other. It's kind of like a 3-way battle, and I really like how that's explored. The Cell is more in it for the money than the Marines. The Marines are kind of just fighting on the human side, and of course the nanosuit is on the human side, but then the Cell are also trying to obtain it and use it for themselves, and they're all fighting against the alien invaders who have come to Earth to destroy humanity. So in this game you play as actually Alcatraz. You do not play as the soldiers, and you don't really see or play as the soldiers in the original Crysis. You see Prophet at the very beginning of the game, which he was a very prominent character in the original, but Alcatraz is actually just a normal Marine. In the very beginning, you don't see. This is the second mission. In the first one, you see a cutscene explaining how you got in the nanosuit. You can also see it if you watch the cutscene in the very beginning of this video. But pretty much you're on a submarine. It gets blown out of the water by the aliens. You get shot or something like that. I don't know if you get shot or killed. Or, you don't get killed, that's for sure. But it's kind of interesting what happens. You kind of have to see it to have it really explained to you. But then Prophet comes in, he saves you, but then he wants you to get in the suit, and as you find out later on in the story, you're not really alive anymore. I'm not going to say anything about that anymore, but pretty much you need the suit to survive, and you'll see you kind of adjusting to the whole super soldier experience. Throughout the story, you're with Dr. Gould, I think his name is. You can see him in the upper left-hand corner right now. And in the very beginning, he doesn't actually know you're Alcatraz. He still thinks you're Prophet. And then throughout a lot of the story, people think you're still Prophet. I'm not going to really spoil anything else out of the story, but it's definitely a really good experience. It's definitely a story that one of the better ones of the first-person shooters. It's not an RPG or a free roam game with quests and stuff like Crysis. Why do I keep saying Crysis? Like Skyrim or Far Cry is. But for the most part, the campaign of Crysis 2 is one of the best first-person shooter campaigns I've ever played. It's really, really good. So, finally, let's talk about the multiplayer. Now, the multiplayer for the original Crysis was very huge, open areas, a little bit like Battlefield. And because they wanted to bring it to consoles, they kind of toned down the maps a little bit. Now, of course, you're not going to be getting like super small maps, but they're very close quarters focused. You're going to have sniper rifles, but they're not going to be as relevant as in a larger map like one in Battlefield 3, like Caspian Border. And I definitely really like this. It's pretty much a team deathmatch style game mode. And although you're not playing as Alcatraz in the campaign, you still have all of your nanosuit equipment, like going invisible armor mode, stuff like that. So it's a really cool multiplayer. There's no aliens present. There is a Seth gunship that's a kill streak that kind of comes in, and that's alien. But you can't play as an alien like you can play as you can't play as an alien, and you can play like as an alien in Halo, but you just can't do that in Crysis, obviously, just because the properties are extremely different. I don't even think they wield weapons. Well, I think they wield some sort of weapons or something like that. But you pretty much got your standard team deathmatch, drop zone, which was drop zone or crash site. It was like I talked about in the Crysis 3 beta initial thoughts. That was available. There's no 100 mode, of course, but there's some pretty good game modes. The map designs are good. A lot of them are kind of in the campaign or inspired by the campaign, which I definitely like. I like seeing multiplayer maps that kind of bridge the gap between campaign and multiplayer, but I also like seeing a different experience. I don't want to play as in a multiplayer map that I just saw in the campaign that I played 5 minutes ago. But I think for the most part, the map designs are good. They're well thought out. You're not going to be seeing like the best multiplayer maps on any first-person shooter of all time in Crysis 2, but they get the job done. Some are set in nighttime, some in daytime, and I definitely like that kind of dynamic. The time to kill was very, very hard for me to get used to. It takes a lot of bullets to kill someone, and the suppressor really renders your gun not useless, but it's definitely a lot harder to get a kill. You can see I'm playing on the lowest difficulty so I don't die. I could probably play it on the highest difficulty, but I just don't. I don't want to be see. I don't. You probably don't want me to see me just like standing around hiding half the game and like jumping out, shooting one person, going back into cover. So I just decided to play on this game mode. But even in this, you can see I have suppressors on my gun half the time. Sometimes I take them off in this gameplay. But I have to put a ton of bullets into people to kill them. And that's kind of the same way it is in multiplayer. It's not as bad, but you're definitely going to be seeing yourself, if you're extremely accurate, putting at least a half clip into someone. And most of the time you're going to be putting your full mag into someone, and then you're going to have to reload before going out to kill somebody else. The way that the special abilities are used, I think a lot of people gravitate towards the armor mode. You're really going to want to turn on armor mode before engaging someone. Just because you'll get a better chance of survival, and if you're versing someone who has armor mode turned on and you don't, you're gonna lose that gunfight. So if you go up against someone, always turn that armor mode on, and don't be sprinting a lot because that's gonna use up energy, and that's why I'm happy that they kind of got rid of that in Crysis 3, because I run around the map, and although you go really fast, there's no way to like run and not use up your energy, like run at a slower pace. So you're gonna be running, then you see someone, and you've already got like half your energy gone, and it's going to be tough to win that gunfight. But eventually you really get used to it. In the very beginning, when I first bought this game, I was terrible. I'm still not great, but as you saw in my Crysis 3 gameplay from the beta, I'm getting a lot better. Just the entire multiplayer is it's good. The weapons, there's not a ton. That's probably one of my only gripes. It's more like Halo than Call of Duty. You're not going to be seeing like 5 or 6 different pistols. You're going to be seeing like one pistol, one, 2, or 3 pistols. You're going to be seeing like the heavy pistol, the revolver, and the standard. And it's enough to get the job done, but you're not going to be. There's a certain gun suited for every role. So if you want a standard shooting experience, you want to go with the assault rifle. And there's only like 1 or 2 assault rifles, and that's it. There's 1 or 2 LMGs, and there's a couple submachine guns. You're not going to get a lot of options, but then you're going to be able to excel with each individual weapon, of course unlocking different attachments for it. And the attachment progression is different than in the campaign. You just unlock stuff when you rank up, and the dog tag system is pretty cool too. Every time you rank up, you can unlock a random dog tag from this list, and then you can get some for challenges and completing like assignments in the game. But that's pretty much the multiplayer, and it's a good overall multiplayer. Not a ton of people are playing now, but you'll still probably be able to get into some good lobbies. There was 2 DLCs available, but I didn't buy them, so I can't give you any input on that. I think they're both like $10 or $15. So if you want to look into that, I can imagine they're all right. I think one added a couple new weapons. But for my final thoughts on Crysis 2, I think it's a very good overall shooter. It's not going to be for everybody. It's really going to be the people who love more of the futuristic games, not so much Call of Duty, more Halo type players. But all in all, Crysis 2, it's a great looking game. The gameplay is pretty good as well. And if Crysis 3 is anything like Crysis 2, I think I'm really going to enjoy it. Nowadays, you could probably get Crysis 2 for about $20 online. It's not super expensive, but I think I would still recommend it. It's still quite a good game. And if you decide to pick it up and buy it, you're going to really have a lot of fun playing it, whether you decide to play multiplayer, campaign, or be one of those players that play both. There's no online pass, so go out to your game rental store, try it out, and if you like it, buy it. So that's pretty much the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed my Flashback Friday of Crysis 2. If you guys like this video, thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.